Welcome to Banfield. We begin tonight with one of the most baffling and rage-inducing stories that I think I've ever covered. A woman who says she was raped and impregnated by a 30-year-old man when she was just 16 says that she has now lost custody of the child to her rapist and then was ordered to pay him child support. Pay the rapist child support. Just let that sink in for a moment. A rapist gets full custody of the child who was the product of the rape. Legal custody of the human being who is the most important piece of evidence in that case, if there's a case. There's more. Crysta Abelseth says that she met the man, John Barnes, at a bar in Louisiana on December 15th in 2005. Back then, she was just 16 years old, and he was 30. She admits that she'd been drinking with friends and was highly intoxicated at 16 and says Barnes offered her a ride home. She had never met that man before. And he took her home, but he took her to his home, not hers. And that's where she says he raped her on his living room couch. Again, she was 16, he was 30. And 16 is too young to give legal consent in Louisiana, even back then. So even if Barnes denies it or says it wasn't a forcible rape, that is still a statutory rape. Later, Crysta learned that she was pregnant. And in 2011, when her child was 5 years old, John Barnes learned what his rape had produced. Then 4 years after that, he decided to go for custody of that then 11-year-old girl, the product of his rape. Somehow, and here is the absolute head-scratcher, John Barnes was granted 50-50 custody by a Louisiana judge named Jeffrey Cash. This despite the fact that any lawyer, any judge, anyone who took some time to do some very simple math would have seen that John Barnes was by law a child rapist who raped his victim. Today, that daughter is 16 years old. And 16 years ago, Crysta, the victim in this, was herself 16 when she was raped. And the DNA test proves that Barnes is the father. And of course, he admits it because he wanted the child. And if you didn't think this could get worse, buckle up. Earlier this year, Crysta says her rapist was given full custody of that daughter. Crysta says she lost partial custody that she'd already had. And here comes another head scratcher. She says it happened because she gave her 16-year-old daughter a cell phone. She gave her 16-year-old daughter a cell phone, and that is cited as the reason as to why she lost the partial custody that she had and that her rapist has full custody now. So I know, right now, you are probably saying the same thing that I've been saying since I heard about this story from the get-go. This can't be possible. Not in this country. And yet it again gets worse. The judge ordered Crysta to pay her rapist, John Barnes, child support. Why would any court grant custody of a child to a man who was a stranger for 10 years? Aren't we supposed to be thinking about the best interest of the child? The same man accused of raping that child's mother. Why would the police fail to investigate that rape when Crysta, in fact, reported it to them back in 2015, 7 years ago? And why would a mother lose custody of her child for simply giving her a cell phone? And then why would that mother be ordered to pay the rapist child support? There is either a whole other aspect to this story that I don't know about, or this is the most blatant disregard of a sexual assault victim's rights that I have ever heard of. So to try to get to the bottom of it, I am joined by the person at the center of this case, Crysta Abelseth. And Stacie Triche is the founder and executive director of the organization called Save Lives. Welcome to both of you. And Crysta, I'm sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances, but start with the police report 7 years ago. Is there not a case? Was there not an investigation? Like, why were there not rape charges when the simple math shows you were 16, he was 30, and the child is 16?
Yes, ma'am. So back when I filed the charges, I was told that it would be handled with care and that they were going to take the proper steps and do what they needed to do. And they told me not to tell anyone or alert anyone because they didn't want him to know or be alerted. So I didn't say anything to anyone for a while, but I kept calling and I kept calling, and they would tell me, it's under investigation. But they wouldn't tell me anything else. So here it is. I keep asking, other officials, like, what else can I do? What else is there to be done? And no one could give me an answer.
Did you ever hire a lawyer or ask someone for legal help to try to get to the bottom of why there isn't a charge that's been issued against this man? Because by law, even back then, that was illegal. Anyone under 17 cannot give consent, and thus that is officially a rape. So I just don't understand how this didn't end up being a charge or an investigation, or police didn't come and question you. Did police go and question him? Did you have any help on the legal front?
I had an attorney, and they just really weren't much help. They didn't give me an answer either. I didn't know where to go from there. Recently, I've gotten a new attorney, and she's basically put all this into motion with contacting the police force again. And we sat down with them and had a meeting with them just recently, a couple of months ago. And we gave them all the
answer there?
We gave them all the evidence. We provided our birth certificates, the DNA. We said, what else do you need? I gave them numbers of the witnesses. I gave them anything and everything that they asked me for. I told them if they needed anything else, please contact me. No one has contacted me since that meeting. I've made multiple phone calls to the detective. I sent him an email asking for the status of the case. I've left voice messages and still no response.
This just sounds like a grave miscarriage of justice. And then, I mean, that's just the first part of all of this, right? That's the rape from 16 years ago when you were 16. But now you have a 16-year-old daughter, and you've lost complete custody, and you're paying the man child support. Do you have any idea why he came back into your life? He found out about her 6 years into her life, and then 4 years later decided to go for custody. Why did he do that? Did he ever say why?
It just was never enough for him. He just wanted more and more and more. He basically just wants her to himself.
During any of the custody hearings, were you able to assert in court to this judge, Jeffrey Cash, this man raped me when I was 16, and now he's taking my child, and you're ordering me to pay him?
Yes, it has been brought up in court more than one time. So the judge is aware of our ages and what took place.
But did the judge ever say anything? This is the picture of Judge Jeffrey Cash on the screen right now. Did he respond to you? Did he give you an answer? Did he say anything on the record in court?
No, he did not acknowledge it at all.
So, Stacie Triche, help me understand how this case seems to have just fallen through the cracks. I mean, fallen through the Grand Canyon.
Well, first of all, it's not an arduous case if you look at it. It's black and white. You have birth certificates, you have DNA evidence, all the facts are there. So this mother should have never had to go through this mud that she's gone through for the past 10 years with this legal battle back and forth, because he should have never been given any rights to the child at all. But because we're dealing with a situation where a lot of political things are coming into play, we can't get anywhere. So that's why we had to contact the media.
So, you know, people who are watching would think that this doesn't make any sense. How on earth could he skate under the radar of the police and then the courts, especially if it's just simple math to show that was a statutory rape 16 years ago. But you've said that John Barnes, the man who now has custody of your 16-year-old, that he harassed you and threatened you and told you he's connected. What does that mean? Who is he connected to?
I don't have any personal knowledge of who he is connected to. He never disclosed that information to me personally.
Did he ever say that he has a contract with local police and that he had the shield of the local police up on his website until, you know, this became all very public and now that shield has been taken down?
Yes, that was public for anyone to see on his website.
Stacie, help me understand this business about the cell phone. I've covered a lot of cases. I know a lot about custody, and I've just never heard of an infraction of giving a 16-year-old girl a cell phone being a reason to lose, you know, custody to the extent that she's lost full custody. What did that mean exactly? Is there something more to round out the cell phone issue?
Well, there is more to it because she did not give the child another cell phone. The judge had ruled prior to that a cell phone could not be given to the child. And so Crysta, with that ruling, did not give her 15-year-old another cell phone. It was an allegation that was made, an ex parte was filed, and Crysta lost custody. She wasn't allowed to defend herself. It was just, she lost custody.
What was the original ruling a year ago at age 15? What was the reason behind the judge saying that she couldn't get a cell phone?
He basically told me that he was upset because John didn't have access to that cell phone and that I shouldn't provide her with a phone at all.
That's the only reason. He didn't want her to have a cell phone, therefore she shouldn't have a cell phone. But there wasn't any other reason where a cell phone could be nefariously used. I mean, sometimes in custody, they'll say, we don't want the child who might have been involved in drug dealing to have a cell phone, to continue that. I mean, was there any other issue connected to a cell phone?
Not that I'm aware of.
It just sounds so incredibly preposterous. As I mentioned before, your daughter is now 16. She is the exact age that you were when this rape occurred, when John Barnes took you home from that bar to his home, not yours, and illegally had sex with you on that sofa, impregnating you. And in February, you filed a petition for protection based on some abuse you're alleging on behalf of your daughter. And let me just read from this petition. This is what you said in the petition. My daughter contacted me on February 23rd, 2022, with the suspicion that her father had drugged and sexually assaulted her 2 nights in a row. I contacted the authorities and she was transported to Children's Hospital in New Orleans where she was evaluated, and the doctor confirmed that there is evidence of forced entry congruent with sexual assault. Now, usually what happens is right there in the hospital, police will arrive and they will take statements, especially if there's a parent who's nearby. Did that not happen in this case? If there was a confirmation by a doctor that there had been, you know, sexual activity, what happened next? Did Child Protective Services show up? Did the police show up at the hospital?
We're just not actually able to speak on that right now. We just found out today. Well, we just found out today that the judge unsealed records. We're not sure what he's unsealed. So we're just not at liberty to discuss that because we don't want to be involved in anything that's going to harm the actual case that's coming up July 15th.
He unsealed everything. There's nothing that's under seal anymore. We were surprised at that. Really miraculous. The media does some coverage, and all of a sudden, Judge Jeffrey Cash passed an order, and it unsealed everything. So there's nothing under seal now. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, it does, because there's still a minor involved, and so we are trying to protect the minor child.
It's
okay,
not
and
really
speaking of Go ahead.
It's my daughter's personal and private information and experience, and I don't feel like I have the right to intrude on that.
Understand. I mean, if it's a criminal activity, if there's an allegation that this man who raped you may have done it again, I'm just asking if police showed up and took a statement, or if Child Protective Services showed up and took a statement, because that would be a crime.
We just can't speak on that.
Okay. Next question. And Crysta, your daughter is living with John Barnes now full time. Are you able to speak with her, meet with her? When was the last time you talked with her? And what does she say about her circumstances?
I've only been able to see her during supervised visitations every other weekend. The last time I saw her was this past Sunday. We have not had any phone contact. He's blocked my number. He will not let me speak to her, and that's been a very long time now, a few weeks to be exact.
And two questions there. Who's doing the supervision on those visits?
It's been different people. I haven't had the same supervision the whole time.
And why were you ordered to have supervised visits? Usually there's a bad situation in a household where a parent will order that there's supervised visits. Why did he say you needed supervised visits?
The judge didn't say why. Like I said, it was done ex parte, and the judge just signed off on it. I haven't gotten a chance to defend myself or speak to the judge or anybody.
And when you say ex parte, do you mean that it was done in judges' chambers without you present? You didn't have a legal counsel present, or what? How? There's a lot of different ways ex parte can happen. What's your characterization?
Judges' chambers.
The judges' chambers. Basically, it was done behind closed doors. That's all I know.
But there's never been any abuse alleged by you? I mean, John has never alleged that you've abused your daughter and therefore needed to have supervised visits?
No.
No. And this is what is so beyond shocking about this case is we're dealing with a mother here that is an amazing mother. She's never been in trouble with the law. She's never had a drug problem. You know, she's never had any of these things, but yet custody is being taken away from her. However, he has a criminal past.
It is a remarkable story. None of it makes sense. And I'll tell you this, I'll vow to continue following this to see where this goes and how some of this was able to pass. It does not make sense in United States jurisprudence that this should happen to you. Crysta, thank you. Stacie, thank you. I appreciate both of you telling your story tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.